Hello everybody, Adam here. If you're on this video, then you've probably already watched my reaction video to Spiritbox. On this video, I will not have the music playing as I have already listened to it. So if you're interested in getting my casual reaction, go back and watch my casual reaction video. Now I'm going to dive into the audio engineering of this for my first time listening to it. So I'm going to hit on two major things for this. The first one is just how freaking large the mix was. Two, I'm going to talk about how they use the bass, because their bass guitar was incredibly important to all this, and a lot of people don't think about it. Large. This song had so many moving elements. They had sometimes 3 guitars, a bass, a drum set, and the vocalist all happening at the same time. And some of the times that vocalist was in left ear, right ear, and center. So there's a lot of different instruments happening at the same time. The main thing about this that blew my mind was just how big it is, but everything had its own place, but it still had room for really wide reverb on the electric ambient guitar. Like I said in the other video, I think the thing that really made this song cool for me was the ambience. Because yeah, you can have all the chuggy 8-string or down-tuned 7-string guitar that you want. That's pretty common nowadays. People are doing that. You can have, your own sounds, you can make your own distortion sounds. Like, that's easy. But the songwriting part of this is challenging. So you need to find some way to add emotion when most of the time there wasn't any clean singing, and that's where a lot of the emotion comes from. Now I will say her screams fit the song perfectly for emotion, but the fact that they were able to use that ambient guitar to really set some melody and to set some tone was really, really, really good. The chorus was magnificent. It was it was a perfect chorus for the song. And it did not need any clean singing, which I thought was really, really interesting. It's just everything had its own place. You do that by EQing. So I would say the easiest way to have that many instruments and have that many layers of instruments fit in together is you got to know your EQ, and you got to understand where you need to carve out different places in the mix for your separate instruments. So you need to understand where your bass frequencies are. You need to understand where to scoop out bass frequencies on the kick drum so that the bass drum can be heard better. You need to understand where to scoop out stuff on the electric guitar so that the vocals sit better. I think there's a fair bit of automation in this too. So what automation is, if you're a newer audio engineer, is as the song plays, you have effects that move up and down. You can also automate volume as well, so you can automate volume up for certain parts, but then if you don't want the part as high later on, you can duck it down, or you can move it down, and you can map all that in Pro Tools. So I sensed a lot of that because when the vocals were happening, the guitar kind of dipped a tiny bit out of it, and then they boosted a little bit when she wasn't singing, or when she wasn't screaming. So that was something that I noticed. The mixer's ability, whoever mixed this album did a fantastic job, or whoever mixed this single rather did a fantastic job, because he understands panning and EQing. The master on this was huge as well, and we also have to talk about that when we're talking about how big something sounds, because I would say the master for this was pretty squashed, and I feel like it was squashed on purpose. this is not like a progressive metal song. It didn't have like a lot of like dynamics. This was just meant to be a boom, in your face song. And to do that, you want some like really harshly compressed music. You want your waveform to look like not exactly like a sausage link, but you want it fairly close. It's always important when you're mastering. It's always important to have like, even if it's your goal to have like high volume, you should leave at least a little bit on the top for instruments like the cymbals to breathe. You want a little bit on the top. You want a tiny bit of headroom, just like a little bit. Well, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but in my opinion, that always sounds better than a super squashed mix or a super squashed master. Point 2, the bass. So that bass was, how do I describe that bass tone? Like perfect. That bass tone just was so fat and so juicy. It was like a nice steak, man. That's what I pictured when I heard that bass. Just a big old juicy raw steak. And that's exactly what this song needed. The bass really, I mean, well, of course the bass carries a low end because that's what it's supposed to do. But if you notice, the bass guitar in this song was not cut out by the kick drum. It shared a space very, very, very well. And you can hear the kick drum and the bass at an even level, which is what impressed me so much. And I would say that's a very hard thing to do in metal music, is to keep your bass at a point where it's not overpowering anything, but also you don't want to completely lose your bass out of your mix. Again, the way you do that, or one of the ways you can do that, is by EQ. You can, this is what I do personally with my kick drum and my bass guitar. So I tend to scoop out a lot of the lower frequencies for the kick drum to get rid of muddiness, because when you're doing like double kick work, you really are interested in the hits. Man, maybe sometimes, depending on what you're doing, maybe you want like a little bit of the boom. But if you have a lot of the boom from a kick drum, you won't hear the syncopation. So I usually scoop out at about 340 hertz, because that is where the bass tends to sit, is at 330 to 350. Then I tend to boost the bass right at like 320-ish to 350, and kind of make like a nice little round Q for it. That way you still get the hit of the kick drum, which is what every metal listener wants to get, and then you still have the bass. So that's a really good example of what I was talking about curving out mixes. So then the kick drum has its own place, the bass has its own place too. Just overall, this mix was very good, very, very listenable. The master didn't kill me. I hate overly compressed mixes. I hope you learned something from the analysis part of this. If you are an aspiring audio engineer, or if you're just here to hear my thoughts, thank you for coming. I have a Patreon page in the link below if you're interested in it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone.